We are in a silent depression. When you compare the Great Depression to today, this is going to absolutely blow your mind. In 1930, during the Great Depression, the average home in America was $3,900. The average car was $600, and the average monthly rent was $18 or $216 a year, and the average salary was $1,300 for the year.
I beg your pardon?
Fast forward to today, it is $436,000 for the average home, $48,000 for the average car, and the average rent is $2,000 a month or $24,000 a year.
What? Man, hell no.
And we have a $56,000 income for the average American right now. So if you look back to the Great Depression, the house was only 3 times the average salary. Now it is 8 times the average salary. The car was 46% of the salary. The car today is 85% of the salary. And here's the craziest part. The rent was 16% of the average salary. It is now 42% of the average salary.
You're broke! You're fucking poor!
Yes, to the point where I don't understand how people are convinced to talk about anything else other than how expensive everything is. The house that I'm sitting in right now, I looked it up recently, and literally 10 years ago, this house was sold for $63,000. This house is now worth $275,000, and the only thing I can think to myself is, what the fuck were you doing in 8th grade? You should have been locked in. I was over here thinking about Pokemon and having a childhood when I should have been thinking about diversifying my portfolio. And the scariest part is nobody's even talking about it because the right and the left have divided us so much on social issues that nobody cares that the middle class is disappearing. And our representation ain't gonna start talking about it because they live such cushy lives that they probably don't even notice the hardships of regular Americans. And really they have no incentive to talk about it because when you have uneducated voters, talking about complex issues like the economy doesn't get you TV time or any votes. I mean, objectively, what's gonna get you more votes? Talking about the effects that inflation has on interest rates or women's rights? This is one of the biggest problems with democracy. If you don't have educated voters, then they're just going to vote based on emotion.
Between Taylor Swift, LeBron James, and Donald Trump, who would you rather have as president?
Taylor Swift.
Why?
Because I love Taylor Swift.
Crack is cheap.
Taylor Swift, probably. I don't really know anything about LeBron James, and I don't like Donald Trump. So.
I'm gonna have to go LeBron, right? Because if you look at whatever team LeBron's been on, he's been able to bring him a championship. You know what I'm saying? When he first went.
Honestly, maybe Taylor Swift.
Why is that?
I don't support Trump. LeBron James, I don't know too much about. Taylor Swift has created an empire, an amazing fan base, and I think she could rule us better than the other options.
You said ASU's got a whole class about Taylor
Swift. I think so, yeah.
And, what do they teach?
I think they analyze her lyrics.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. When you're not educated on the topics, you can't vote rationally, so you just vote emotionally. And I don't want to generalize women here, but our presidential elections are turning into popularity contests. It's less about the person's policies and more about how you feel about the opposing candidate. When you ask the average woman in America if she'd vote for Trump, she's going to say no. But when you ask her why, she isn't going to say because of his foreign policy. She's going to say because I feel like he hates women. And all I can think to myself is, when 2 billionaires sit in a room, do you think they give a shit about trans rights? Broke people are sitting here arguing with each other over a group of people that represent less than 1% of the American population, while the middle class is disappearing and the rich are getting richer.
You don't find that suspicious?
I hear often people say, well, politicians, they're just stupid. If they're so stupid, how come they're in charge of you?
Yeah, they're not stupid.
They're not stupid. You think they work for you. That's your confusion. You think they represent you. And you're like, why are they doing all these things? That's against my interest. Because you're not their concern. They work for somebody else. Exactly. And they're passing laws for their interest. The people who make rules to benefit the people who make the rules. They don't make the rules to benefit the common average person.
Yes, because they no longer work for the American people. They now work for the people who make them millionaires, their campaign donors. People have to understand that when big corporations lobby or donate to presidential campaigns, that ain't charity. It's an investment. They're doing that because they believe they're going to get more value from that president than they gave to that president. And if you a politician that want to make a 50-year career out of it, you better be giving something back to these donors. I need y'all to hear me for 1 second, and I don't want to say the name of this group. You can look it up, but I don't want to say the name of this group because I like to keep my YouTube channel. There's a country that donates to the campaigns of American politicians. Now, this happens on different levels. It can be city, state, or even presidential. 98% of the candidates that received funds from this group of people won in their general elections. 98%. And this is on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. And one of the people who sticks out the most that's been receiving money from this country since the 1990s is President Joe Biden. So when you're sitting there thinking to yourself, why are we doing this stuff? We can barely afford to eat. We don't want to go into World War III. Let's mind our own business. Or when you see another $5 billion of your tax dollars goes to a country that you can't even point out on a map, just understand that our president might have more loyalty to another country than us.
Wonderful. Have you ever owned a business?
I've said this before, and I'm sure I'm going to get cut off saying it now, but
Good.
I am the
That
daughter
would be a yes or
of
no.
small business owners.
So that's
who
great.
had
I'm a
small businesses
daughter
when
too.
I was growing up. So
okay,
my
this
parents
should
had
be
a
really easy
laundromat.
for you. Let's try this again. Listen carefully. If you need to write a note down, that's fine. Have you, it is kind of comical when you're supposed to be the acting secretary and you can't answer a question. So I'm with you on the comedy. Unfortunately, it's not that comical because it's real life. So let's try it again. Have you, not the daughter, not the mother, not the sister, not the aunt, have you ever owned a business?
Congresswoman, you asked me why the rule
Have
is
you?
important.
Okay, let's try this again. So you're making a ton of money. You're making legislation for business owners. You're supposed to be in charge as the acting person, yet you can't answer a simple question. Amazing to me. Maybe we should just pay you more money and that would help you answer the question. I'm going to go back to the question again. Have you ever owned a business? Not a trick question.
Congresswoman, there are working people.
Hey, bro, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
In this country
Yes.
who do not
I mean,
choose
this
to be
is the very
independent
reason why you
contractors,
can't get
but are
confirmed
called
is
independent
because you can't
contractors.
answer a question, right? It's I'll even accept an I don't know. Have you ever owned a business? And yes, I'm Congresswoman. So have you ever owned a business?
Working people in this country are entitled to basic protections under the federal law. It is our job
So
as
is
the
that
Department of Labor.
yes, you have owned a business, or no, that's not? I mean, you are brilliant at answering a question that I didn't ask. And this is the very reason why you can't get confirmed in the Senate, because nobody trusts you. Because you can't answer a simple question. If you're supposed to be in charge, I would think it's not too much to ask to be able to answer a question. And with that, my disappointment continues to grow and your smugness continues to be very unacceptable. But you continue being acting secretary, making policies of which you know nothing about. And with that, I yield back.
So this lady's put in charge to help decide how much small business owners should be taxed and what they are and aren't allowed to do. And when she's asked if she's ever even owned a business, she says, no, but my father did. That's like saying Tom Brady's daughter should be allowed to decide the plays for an NFL team because her dad was one of the best players ever. These people aren't even put into power because they're competent. They're put into power because they're compromisable. Do these people seem competent about their job title?
The health ministers of the world are vital, strong, and radiant human beings. Take a look at the health minister of Belgium. She's absolutely glowing. And the health minister of England? She's definitely prioritizing her gut health. Let's not forget about Quebec. He's never skipped the gym. Last but not least, the United States of America Health Secretary, Rachel, who also used to be a man. It makes complete sense why these bright humans are in positions of power. They want a self-sufficient, clear-headed, and fit to take on the world. They know that a weak populace is easy to control, and they don't want that. Moral of the story, take care of your physical, mental, and spiritual health and sovereignty before it's too late.
We need to come together and do one thing, stop participating. And when we do that, the game is over. When we literally say, Monday morning, we're not going to go to work. Imagine if 30 million people didn't go to work Monday. Imagine if 30 million people didn't buy gas on Monday. Imagine if 30 million people went to the bank on Monday and said, I want to withdraw all my money. They can't even give it to all 30 million because only 15% of the cash is available on hand at any given time. The rest is fake zeros and ones. That would collapse the banking system in one day. You see the power in that? You have the power. We all have the power, but what's keeping us back from doing this? Fear. Oh my God, if I don't go to work, I'm gonna get fired, and if they don't participate in it, and I'm the only one that doesn't show up for work, I'm gonna lose out, and I'm not gonna be able to pay my rent. I'm not gonna be able to make my car payment, and so forth and so on. You see the trap they have us in? They have us in this system where we're afraid to work together. Man, we're brothers, we should be, link up. Let's do this together. That's right.
You know why you can't fucking pay your bills right now? Why your shit is tight? Because these people stole the economy from you. And it's also that nobody can have any power. Like, bro, look how they tax us. Mm-hmm. They tax us with all this shit, but yet they print as much money as they need. So they take half of your money and then they print whatever else they need, devaluing the rest of the money that you have. You see that?
Right.
But most people don't understand how that works, so they're not up in arms about it. If most people understood that these people are taxing us, and by the way, we're all taxed, when we add it all up, equal or more than half of our income. When we consider sales tax, the cost of ownership, of property tax, fucking tax when you buy shit, tax when you sell shit, income tax. Most people only think about income tax. But when you add it all together, you're paying over 50%, which means you're a slave to the government, okay? And then the money you're left with, they are printing trillions of dollars on the backside, which means the money you get to keep isn't worth as much. And most people don't understand this basic reality of economics.
What he's basically saying is if money is being printed off without being backed by anything, it's pretty much counterfeit money. It's just the government has a monopoly on it. If I'm in debt and I print off or create fake money, then I go to jail. But if the government does it, but I'm about to take it even further, and stay with me because it's all going to come full circle. During the Atlantic slave trade, some of the African tribes traded resources for beads. So understanding how cheap beads are, the Europeans went back to Europe and created more beads and traded them for resources. And it's basically the same idea. Our government is able to print off endless amounts of money that's not backed by anything and exchange it for the most valuable resource on the planet, human labor. If Americans don't start to hold our government officials accountable, we deserve what's coming. If athletes aren't allowed to bet on their own games, why are elected officials allowed to buy stocks and accept money from the companies they're supposed to legislate?